Welcome to the official Colts podcast. Jeffrey Gorman here with JJ Stankevitz and Larra Overton. We want to welcome the Colts Audio Network and the YouTube viewers today. Hey, it's a fun set today, and the energy is there, and something great started, knock on wood, in New York over the weekend. Larra, let's start with you. Something happened. You lost something over the weekend, but hopefully you can power through on this podcast.
I know.
How's the voice from New York?
Well, we're hanging in. We're powering through right now. No one's at 100% at this point in this season, right? Everybody's battling through something. To quote Michael Pittman Jr., right? He's like, everybody's got a little something going on. We're all just fighting through. So this is me just fighting through a little bit. So
we're going to guide you along. You sound great.
Well, thanks. Yeah, that's Mayte, and we were doing something a little earlier. Mayte and Kevin Connors, one of our videographers, said I have like some sort of like 80s MTV VJ type of
That's
thing
a
happening.
really good call. Yeah. It
So-
sounds like you should be on like spring break in Panama City Beach in like 1997, being
Club
like,
La Vila?
we've got Blink 182 coming on stage.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but powering through.
You will.
Powering through like Anthony Richardson across the goal line.
That is right. We got to get to that. JJ, I mean, we talked about AR's impact, and we saw that on Sunday versus the Jets. He was everywhere. The stat line, 20 of 30, obviously the 3 touchdowns, and this was a well-needed contest for him. I want to just start off with his command of this offense, and also if you guys can talk about the way that Shane Steichen ran this offense to complement Anthony and what he does so well.
So I think this was as synced up as we've seen Shane Steichen and Anthony Richardson all year.
Yeah.
That, Anthony was getting to a lot of the first reads were open, and he was getting the ball to him when he needed to. The stuff that Anthony started doing later in the game, where he's using his eyes to manipulate coverage, like the 20-yarder he had to Pittman, where he uses his eyes to kind of pin the linebacker down, and then he gets Pittman behind it. Like, really good stuff. Like, really high-level quarterbacking play that Richardson was getting into as this game went on. You could see him feel comfortable. And then he was under pressure quite a bit, 15 to 32 dropbacks per Pro Football Focus, and he didn't let that rattle him. He stood there to hit some of the throws he hit over the middle on the intermediate stuff where he's letting those things fly to Alec Pierce, to Michael Pittman Jr., to Josh Downs over the middle. You got to have good pocket presence, and we saw that. He was getting pressured, he was taking some hits, and he was getting the ball out where he needed to. Just overall, like when I went back and I watched the film of it, you're just so impressed by the level of control, Larra, that it felt like he had, because watching the game live, that's what I came away thinking, was he was in control the whole game. When you watch it on film, it almost stood out more, that control that he had.
Something that I asked the guys about after the game, especially a lot of the defensive guys, was just about how much you can feel that AR feeds off physicality. Like, as, whether it's, making plays with his legs, eluding the sacks like that, that is where you see him gaining confidence. And I thought putting him in a position which he could do the things he loves to do and not shying away from contact. Yes, you want to be smart and not put yourself in harm's way. But I also think you don't want to take away the things that make him special, which are, some of the designed runs that we saw, the RPO game. I thought we saw massive strides with his intermediate game in this one too. And I just saw one of the responses was that first fight across the goal line, first touchdown run by him. You felt that entire bench ignited. This is what I thought my biggest takeaway. Every single person, every single guy in that locker room was behind Anthony Richardson in this game. And they were all really, you watch that and you're like, if this is how our quarterback is willing to fight for us, we're going to be dang sure that we're doing our job on the opposite side. And another thing, what Zaire Franklin said to AR before the game, guys were going up to him and Anthony was locked in. And he's always focused. I think Anthony always strikes a good level between being focused and also having an element of fun within it. We've seen that. But Zaire Franklin, and that's one of the guys who Anthony has said he has leaned on most to learn from throughout the process, especially within the last 2 to 3 weeks. Zaire said, go have fun, do your thing. And that's what I thought we saw Anthony do last Sunday. And now you got to keep it going. It's one of those things where it's, I don't want to say easy to kind of correct and, do certain things and implement some new things in 1 week. Now let's sustain it, right? Whatever he's implemented over the last few weeks to play at that type of level, let's continue it now going into the bye week. We've got a really good stretch here where you can do some really good things and head into the bye in a strong position.
Can you both of kind of piggyback on this, if you will? Why was the 2-week benching necessary for him? And were you in agreement with that for this kid's development, this young quarterback, to then 2 weeks later to then have what they had meeting-wise, and then, like you said, when that bench erupted and stuff, we saw in this past week in the media sessions, this whole locker room had that young man's back.
Yeah, I think you saw the impact that had on Anthony. I think, like you heard, like Michael Pittman Jr. kind of call it like a wake-up call last week, where Anthony talked so much about sacrifice and consistency and just kind of, dedicating himself to this process and going above and beyond. But I think the other part of it was you saw teammates rally around him. Not necessarily, obviously in the way of like, hey man, go out there and have fun. But like, I thought what Zaire Franklin said last week was so impactful, where Z said he challenged the other captains on the team to let's look inward at ourselves and how we can support this guy. And I thought that was also really impactful, where it wasn't just, hey, Anthony, go look at what you need to do. It was the team looked at what they needed to do to support him. And Anthony kind of, taking ownership of, like, what he also said last week of, like, I got myself benched, basically, and now it's my job to show everyone that I'm the quarterback and this won't happen again. I thought everyone had like such a level of self-awareness about the whole thing, because this was hard. Let's not diminish how hard this was on Anthony Richardson, on this football team.
He was emotional Sunday.
He was. So that all of that combined, I think you saw, like, that leads to the emotional outburst that you saw on that touchdown run. Now, for sustaining it, you got to stay consistent with it, right? That's going to be the key going forward. Look, if Sunday's game is a proof of concept of what this team can accomplish when its quarterback is able to do what he did during the week and then do what he did on game day, this team can absolutely go places. And I think the proof of concept you got against a good New York Jets defense is really, really encouraging going forward.
I think you're going to have more people than ever rooting for Anthony Richardson after this. Who does not love a comeback story like this? And what he showed, like how much he showed about who he is as a football player, as a leader, as a person, by taking everything in stride, having that type of performance, finding a way to just get better through everything. I think is fantastic. I think it's been difficult because here he has, a pretty strong start to the season, right? People were calling that touchdown to Pierce, that 60-plus yard bomb. Oh, that's the pass of the year. It's week 1, this and that. And so you're riding these waves, and then he has some, down game against Green Bay, and you're going back and forth. And there are all of these voices that are swirling around you and these different things. And he has done such an incredible job, I think, over this last month of surrounding himself with the right people, having the right, input, having, the right people to learn from, equipping himself and taking charge, taking ownership of, I'm in command of what I do from this point on. And I just think he proved so much on Sunday. And this is why so many people are excited about him, excited about what he brings to this team. And I think it's why what we saw on Sunday is exactly why you heard it reiterated by the guys in the locker room. They never lost faith in Anthony. That belief has been there in this young quarterback from the get-go, despite everything. And Sunday proved exactly why, that they never wavered in their confidence and their belief in him.
Hey, let's not forget, 22 years old, right? Has he turned 23 yet?
No.
I think it's right around the corner, but still the youngest.
No, it's in May.
Well, it's not right around the corner. Still the youngest quarterback in the NFL with this responsibility. Larra,
second, Drake May. When we play the Patriots in a couple of weeks, that's going to be
the youngest quarterback.
Drake May is the youngest quarterback in the NFL. Richardson's second.
All right. Well, we're
Anthony was the youngest to start the year because Jacoby Brissett was starting for the Patriots. So at the beginning of the season, you were
really quick to both of you. He gets off the bus in New York, or he gets on the plane in Indianapolis. He gets off the plane in New York, onto the bus, to the hotel, back to the stadium. Then he goes and stuff like this. You're right around there. You both travel with the team. Did you see anything? Was there something about an aura or anything about about him around his teammates that was different than you've seen weeks before?
I mean, we kind of heard all week long that there was a greater sense of urgency across the team. Everyone was more dialed in, more detail focused, all of that. I think I saw a little bit of that, not just from Anthony. I thought that was kind of...
I thought it was the whole team.
It was heightened, and it wasn't really just him, because Anthony just... And through everything, like, he's always exuded this presence and this confidence around him, but in a humble nature at the same point too. Like, there is something that I felt like even last season in the games that he started, that the guys fed off the confidence that he brought onto the field. Like we heard about from the guys, he always had command of the huddle, right? There were these different things where it was like there were ways in which he didn't necessarily feel like a rookie because of the presence that he brought. So I have not seen things drastically different with him. Maybe it's just certain things a little bit dialed up, and I'll say that comes from Shane, because Shane is, I think, one of the most level head coaches that you're going to find, like, takes everything in stride. And I think that tone that Shane has set from the top down through all of the adversity this season, wins, 3-game losing streak, change at quarterback no matter what. Shane has that same approach week in, week out. Maybe he has a greater emphasis on one thing or another. And I thought that really, JJ, that's really more so what you saw reflected on Sunday.
I think this team not going in the tank when they got down 24-16. Where, you get out to this 13-0 lead. New York can't move the ball. You're feeling great. They get the touchdown before half. They take the lead on the strip sack. Then they go right back down, and it's kind of back and forth on some long field goals. And then you get the Jets going up 24-16 early in the fourth quarter. That's a moment where if this team didn't kind of have that belief, if they didn't have just that, hey, level-headed mentality, they could have gone in the tank. They're 4-6. They lost 3 straight games. Here we go again. And that didn't happen with this team. And that didn't happen with Anthony Richardson specifically. So that's why I don't know, I'm just this felt sustainable in a lot of ways. It felt sustainable because the team kind of kept that mentality, but it also felt sustainable because this game was not built on trick shots, on 60-yard bombs. It was built on efficient passing, a dedication to the run game, even when it wasn't working. And then your quarterback making some awesome plays down the stretch. That's what this team, we all kind of thought was going to be built on going into the season. It turned out it's taken the Colts a little while to get into it, but if that's what this team's identity is on offense for the final 6-7 games of this season, there is a shot that this team makes the playoffs. Absolutely.
Hey, you mentioned no trick shots, but hey, your guys' reaction when you see Grover Stewart and DeForest Buckner lining up out there with the offense.
Right.
This is like my brain is so broken, guys. Like, I was talking about this with Bill Brooks. Like, it was like, I saw that Josh Downs angle route out of the backfield. I saw Christian Kirk do that against the Colts 2 years ago when Jim Bob Cooter was the passing coordinator of the Jaguars. When I saw Grover Stewart and DeForest Buckner go on the field, I saw Akeem Hicks score a touchdown. 320-pound Akeem Hicks when I was covering the Bears in 2018 in that same end zone. They called it freezer left was the handoff to Akeem Hicks, and he just barreled into the end zone. And I thought, am I about to see Grover Stewart do the same thing?
I'm dying to.
Now, granted, the lead blocking there, yeah, but I was just like, oh my God, I've seen this before 6 years ago on the same field.
This is
why does my brain operate like that?
This is all I want.
I need to remember
before the
more
end of the
important
year.
stuff.
Big 90 to carry a touchdown into the end zone one way or another. Oh, I mean, that place would erupt. Unbelievable. Because I'll tell you, Grover Stewart's got good wheels. He's got some feet. He's got some quickness. So yeah,
you get Grove
twinkle toes.
Coming, yeah.
You get Grove with the ball in his hands.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
how are you stopping that?
He had a pick on a screen pass that I think it was training camp 21 or 22, where he pick 6, took it to the house on it, but like he was moving.
Oh yeah.
He picked a screen off and he was chugging downfield.
It's not.
So what I'm saying is, let's not get Grover near the goal line. Let's throw him a screen pass on like the 40 on 2nd and 10. Just see what happens.
Give that man open space, just like Tyreek Hill. That's all they need, just a little open space.
Many people compare Grover Stewart to Tyreek Hill.
Right,
You're not the first one.
Often comparison. I was actually joking with Shane last week about if there's anything better than when Grover is having fun on the field, because he gets his the dance going. And I said the dance is one thing, he gets the sacks, but like just hearing Grover Stewart, like it is the best. Like that is the soundtrack that you want on a sideline, is Grover Stewart laughing, having fun, because that means that defensive front is rolling.
Nobody knew him coming out of college. Everybody
Albany State, baby.
Across the landscape
represent Camilla,
knows.
Georgia.
Hey, we're talking about great rushers, and like Grover Stewart being one of them. But guys, please touch on this, and we'll move on. 24 for 57 for JT. Is that concerning?
No, because the Jets came into this game, as they should, being like, we're not going to let Jonathan Taylor beat us.
Okay.
We are not going to let number 28 beat us. If 5 beats us, okay. And that's exactly what happened. Anthony Richardson had to go win this game for the Colts, and he did, because the Jets were not going to let Jonathan Taylor beat him. I thought early in the game, you saw a little bit of success with the Colts' run game, but it wasn't very efficient. And then you saw Shane Steichen, I think, try some stuff. They got under center a little bit more in the second half. Nothing was really working on the ground. So once you got to the fourth quarter, it had to be Anthony Richardson to go win the game. But Jonathan Taylor is going to get his. You're going to see him pop some stuff. That Jets front's really good. Quinnen Williams was destructive.
Really good.
In that Quinnen Williams had an unreal game. There's a reason why he's one of the best defensive tackles in the NFL.
For sure.
That is a tough Jets front to play against. And they just said, again, 28's not beating us, and then Anthony Richardson did.
The reason I brought it up is, like, I'll see 13 for 57 out of JT, and you go, oh, okay, I get it. I wish I would have ground him a little bit more like that. But when he gets 24 touches, that's a guy who gets better the more he touches the football.
You're right, because that was his second lowest yards per average when he's had over 20 carries in a game in his career.
Right.
So it was about as inefficient as you'll see Jonathan Taylor ever get. But again, that's what the Jets are trying to do, and that's a really good defense, so you give them some credit there.
And I also like the challenge of that is, okay, you got that challenge last week. How do you use that then going into this week against Detroit, right? Like, what will Detroit try to do maybe that the Jets were effective in doing, and then how do you adapt for those things?
I have a take here real quick. The last team the Colts played at home and the next team the Colts play at home will play for the Super Bowl.
The last team the Colts...
Oh, the Bills and
the Lions.
The Lions. Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
I think those are the two best teams in football.
Really? Okay.
I mean, Buffalo just beat Kansas City by 9.
Here's the thing: is I think Kansas City,
Mahomes is going to do his stuff in the playoffs.
Kansas City finds a way to get it done in the playoffs. Like, that's the thing. Is Buffalo can be the best team going into the postseason, but Kansas City always finds a way. That's my thing.
Right.
Like,
Mahomes is inevitable in the playoffs. He's going to get shoved in the back going out of bounds, and they're going to win the game. But like the Bills are an awesome football team. There is no shame, as it turns out, there is no shame in losing to the Bills at home. And then the Detroit Lions have put up 52 points twice this season. Twice!
Hey, I'm going to say something, too. And we try to shy away, and Shane Steichen has shied away from drawing quarterback comparisons. But it is tough to deny when you look at Josh Allen's stats early in his career. And, similar to Anthony Richardson, when you invest in the development of a quarterback who has that level of athleticism, what they can do over the tenure of a career when they have consistency within an offense. And it's interesting. It is something to look at. Obviously, like, you don't want to necessarily place that upon one guy or say this is a script for this guy, but there are some very stark comparisons between those two quarterbacks.
Okay, how about this
in their first two seasons?
That's like, I think a totally within bounds, statistical, body type, all that. Jared Goff, like when Shane Steichen says every quarterback has a different journey, Jared Goff and Anthony Richardson are not the same in terms of how they play quarterback and how they operate. Jared Goff was thrown in the trash by the Los Angeles Rams. Oh, he's a throw-in in the Matthew Stafford trade. Jared Goff is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL right now.
No question.
And he is you're looking 9 years into his career, and his quarterback has kind of been like an inverted bell curve, where it starts off awesome. Oh my gosh, look at what Sean McVay is doing with Jared Goff. And then it takes a big old dip in about 2019, 2020 to the point where McVay's like, get this guy out of here. I can't win a Super Bowl with him. He brings in Stafford. He wins a Super Bowl. Now we're back on the upswing of Jared Goff, and the Lions might win a Super Bowl with Jared Goff. There is a real possibility there. The point is, quarterback development is not linear.
Yes.
There are going to be bumps in the road. There are going to be down seasons. There are going to be hard questions asked about a quarterback at every stage of his career. And I think just seeing what Jared Goff has done with this second act of his career in Detroit is a reminder that quarterback development will happen over the course of an entire player's career. Look at Matthew Stafford. The guy was a great quarterback. You turn on the film in Detroit, you're like, he's a great quarterback. He didn't win anything.
Nothing.
When he was in Detroit. First year in LA, he wins the Super Bowl. Like, these things can happen. You have to be patient. You have to give quarterbacks time. It might take Jared Goff getting shipped off to Detroit and having a 3-10 season his first year there for him to get his career back on track. It might take Anthony Richardson getting benched for 2 weeks after an inconsistent second year for him to get his career back on track. We'll see. It's early. We'll see if that's the case. But these things can happen, and if you just bury a quarterback, sometimes that's... look at Kyler Murray.
Sure.
Kyler Murray's having an awesome year in Arizona. He was kind of left for dead after he tore his ACL. Like, never throw a talented quarterback who's doing the right things. Never throw him away. Sam Darnold.
Hello, Sam Darnold. I was just about to say,
I mean, look at this.
Getting wins right there.
Hey, and who was it that kind of helped Kyler Murray get back on track? Cam Turner.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay, let's go. Let's stay here really quick. I got to give some love to JD. I'm going to start with you on this. One of my favorite Chris Ballard picks of all time is turning out to be Josh Downs and what he's doing. And if they can get, him and his good friend, and we've seen that with them talking about Anthony Richardson and Josh Downs and their friendship like this. We got to give back slaps, applauds, whatever you want to call them. Josh Downs in this offense, guys, with Anthony Richardson humming right here. The storyline's been set. A 2-week benching, coming back now for the playoff push. But we're not going to get there at a playoff push if Josh Downs isn't humming.
Well, one of the things I asked Josh about, because, Anthony and Josh are, two of the closest teammates. That's somebody who Anthony has leaned on a lot. And Josh told me about just how proud he was of Anthony and his approach and, what he's done. And I said, how much do you pride yourself on being that safety net, though, for Anthony, that you are going to catch anything that comes his way? And he said, that's everything. That's all I try to do is like, you're coming to me. I'm going to be there for you. You never have to worry about me. I will make sure that I make the play to make you look good. And I think that is that, dynamic where you find guys who are in a draft class that come together. What was the first story we heard when they got in the building together? They were out throwing balls in the hotel parking lot together. Like, that connection cannot be overstated in just how critical it is for the development of both of those guys to have one another. And Josh is such a great compliment to some of the other guys that you have in that room. Each of them has their specialties. The downfield threat of an Alec Pierce. You've got Pitt in the middle. You've got Josh in there as well. I think Ashton Doolin is coming on. I think it's going to be a huge next month for Ashton Doolin and what his role will be in this offense as well. But yeah, Josh is, we kind of talked, and I don't want to keep harping on this, but how steady Shane is. I think that Josh provides that steadiness for Anthony, day in and day out. Josh has this level of poise, which, you typically have a situation with a rookie receiver where it takes them time to get going. They kind of have to take their lumps in the first, in their first season, first 2 seasons maybe in the league. And we really didn't see that. Josh was as consistent and as steady as a rookie receiver, I think, as we have had in this organization. And then he continued to just build and progress upon that. Even coming off of that high ankle sprain, which sidelined him for a month, and then he immediately comes back in and makes an impact. So I think he is, to me, one of the most exciting elements of this offense and will continue to be moving forward.
I think if you just turn the tape on with Josh Downs, you're just yeah, this guy's really good. I'm listening to a couple of podcasts like Matt Harmon, who does reception perception. He's on a podcast with Nate Tice on Yahoo, and he's just I think Josh Downs is one of the dudes in the NFL. And hearing that, I'm like, man, really? And then you look at it, and some of the charting stuff, like Pro Football Focus. Here are your top 5 receivers this year in the NFL: T. Higgins, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Juwan Jennings, Josh Downs, Chris Godwin. That's by offensive grade. Let's go to receiving grade. Yeah, that's the same thing. But you got Downs and Justin Jefferson right there. You got Downs is ahead of Terry McLaurin, Drake London, Malik Neighbors, George Pickens, Brian Thomas, Jamar Chase, just in the charting stuff. Now, these are all subjective, right? You can say, is Josh Downs really you got Juwan Jennings up here. Is he really that good too? But I think if you turn on the tape, it's the whole meme of real ball knowers get it. like real ball knowers get that Josh Downs is a really good football player.
In great company right there as well. So let's touch on this for a minute. We're not calling it a comeback, but Anthony Richardson, after a couple of weeks, comes back, and all of a sudden the tight ends have 4 receptions.
Yeah.
Larra, I'm just bringing that up because they've been over before. I mean, with very limited targets. Is this something we're going to see?
I wish Mo had gotten that two-point conversion.
Yeah.
Oh man. You talk about that's one of those plays. I mean, obviously everything worked out, but I loved the design. I mean, the play was just right there, just needed a little bit more. But I was like, I want these guys so badly to have that type of performance, because there is so much talent obviously within that room, and it has been a whole stop and start right for that unit so far this season. But I mean, yeah, you feel that time is coming for that group in particular.
I've got a take here that it's going to happen for that group as the Colts lean into a run-heavy offense. That group is going to get more targets off play action when, you look at the one that Mo caught on 3rd and 2 for the first down, or Anthony rolled out. Quinnen Williams is in his face immediately on it. But the play action there, it's under center play action, and it works because it sucks in Sherwood, the linebacker, who's 3rd and 2, we got to stop the run here. So it sucks him in. Mo gets free, and Anthony somehow is able to get that ball out to him, an insane throw that Anthony made. I talked about this on Instant Reaction. When we talk about arm talent that Anthony has, it's not just the 60-yard bombs to Alec Pierce. It's a throw like that to Mo, where he can be pressured by Quinnen Williams. He's rolling to his right, and he's able to somehow muscle that ball out to Mo for a first down. But those are plays that are going to happen more and more often when you establish the run and that you are going to run the ball, and teams say, okay, we're not going to let you run it. Well, great. There goes Mo Alley Cox popping out for a 12-yard gain now and then. That's where you're going to see the tight ends make an impact.
And what do you always say after games?
Go to Mo.
The best quotes, right? Did you talk to Mo after this one?
No, did I talk to Mo after this one? He said...
That's the quote that...
Talking about Anthony Richardson getting into the end zone on his first touchdown, and I don't want to misquote him, but without having it right in front of me, he basically said...
I can find it real quick.
All right, well, he basically said... It looked like that safety got run over by the Holy Ghost the way he fell backwards.
Okay. Solid, right?
Yeah.
He's almost Venturi-like with some of these.
It was so good. It was so good.
But that's where, I know, people are, Colts need an elite tight end and all that. They don't have one of those on this roster. I get it. You would love to have someone catching 10 passes a game out of that spot. But for where this team is at right now, more run game, which, by the way, those are good blocking tight ends you got in there, especially Mo and Drew Ogletree are good blocking tight ends. More emphasis on the run game with those guys blocking is then going to lead them to get more opportunities. And that's such an unselfish group, too. I had this conversation with Tom Manning, the Colts tight ends coach, earlier this year about, it was the Steelers game where those guys chipped TJ Watt 14 times in that game, an insane amount where they were just taken out of the passing game. And he said, those guys are just going to do whatever it takes to win a game, whatever the plan is. Even if we tell them going into the game, you're probably not going to get a lot of opportunities, they're okay with it. And then when they do get their opportunities, you got to have them take advantage, like we saw with Mo on that catch on Sunday.
All right, if we're going to start this playoff push, it's going to start with a couple of groups. Touch upon it briefly. Larra, let me start with you. Matt Gay, we'll get to you. It was so important for this week. That's 10 points, and he did it in that fashion. But rookie offensive lineman going out. JJ, I want the outlook for the Lions, what we're looking at. Hey, if we're not talking about them, you know what I'm saying? If we're not really talking about Matt Gay, too, we put him in there. If we're not talking about him, something's going right. And that offensive line, led by the 3 rookies, did what they had to do.
Yeah. Hey, Tanner Bortolini, Dalton Tucker, and then the New Jersey guy, Matt Gonsalves, right?
No, he's Long Island.
Long Island.
I was talking to him about that. I was like, is this going to be homecoming for you? He was like, we never really made it out there because he's all the way out on Long Island. Which, geographically, I don't understand.
Okay.
I just see, a distance, and I'm like, it's a 45-minute drive. No, it's you're not getting to MetLife from that part of Long Island.
Which is funny because I talked to Quiddy on Monday about just being back in the Northeast. He's from Rhode Island. He was like, oh, yeah. He's like, anytime I'm in that part of the country, it feels like coming home. So that's kind of funny because, the different perspectives on it. But, yeah, what a job Tony Sperano has done. It'll be interesting to see as we get back into practice this week. Is Bernard Ryman good to go? Is his trajectory? I also liked how Shane Steichen adapted the practice schedule last week, and I think pulled back on some things. Had more of a walkthrough last Wednesday, right, JJ?
Yeah, right.
Because Shane was explaining that when you have such a late bye week, you try to tweak some things over the course of your practice week to adapt so that guys are feeling a little bit better going into a game. That worked really well. So it'll be interesting to see how that impacts this offensive line, what Bernard's chances are of coming back. Obviously, Gonsalves did a fantastic job.
Gonsalves did a really good game. The interior guys,
but you
I think,
always
struggled a little bit.
I mean, you want as many options as you can, especially with your starters.
Gonsalves was really good. Like he just had a straight up good game against the Jets. I think Tucker and Bortolini got beat a little bit sometimes by. I mean, Quinnen Williams is going to do that to you. Like Quinnen Williams is a really good player. I thought they were like that play where I was talking about where Anthony gets outside on the rollout and he gets pressured by Quinnen Williams. Like you don't want that to happen, but it happened a decent amount against the Jets. So, but those guys, they're young players. They're going to learn. They're going to, like I was talking to Gonsalves about this, and he was talking about how he got beat by Greg Rousseau against Buffalo, and that led to the strip sack of Flacco. And he's like, that sucks. Like I hate when that happens, but you got to learn from it.
Yeah.
And I think Dalton Tucker and Tanner Bortolini got a lot to learn from in this game going against an awesome football player in Quinnen Williams.
And something for me, like, yes, we are focused on this season, trying to get to the playoffs. We are in win now mode, right? Best chance to win. You get your best guys out there every week. However, I am encouraged by so many rookie offensive linemen getting this experience in their first year as you are building this offense for the future. Like, these are going to be times that these guys look back on, and in a season from now, you're going to be in an even better position with that depth that you've reinforced.
Look at 2022 where Bernard Ryman and Will Fries both certainly took their lumps that year.
Yeah.
But how much better both those guys were for the experience they got that year. And those, before Will Fries got hurt, he was playing like the Colts' best offensive lineman.
Yep.
And Bernard Ryman's turned into a really good NFL left tackle, which finding that guy in the third round, by the way, is like, that is as big of a move as getting Josh Downs in the third round. Getting a left tackle in the third round, like, that's incredible. That doesn't happen very often. Yep. So, we'll see how long Ryman's going to be out for. Shane Steichen said it's going to probably be week to week with his knee injury, but you like what he's seen out of Matt Gonsalves. But again, the rookies are going to have moments. They're going to have games where they might let up a couple pressures here. They might give up a sack, but you grow from it, you learn from it, and hopefully you're better the next time out.
Matt Gay has disappointed some Colts fans this year. I'm not pointing a finger at the young man, but we're like, dadgummit, we needed some of these to go. He was fine, and we need that going in. If this playoff push, I just want to give him a backslap and an applaud to say, hey, you went up there, you shot that 56-yarder right down the pipe. Heck, he got outmatched by the kicker on the Jets. What is it, Carlson, with a 58-yarder or whatever it was. So there was great kicking going on, but we need him, guys, to just touch on it. The importance of not having Matt Gay discussions from here on out, if that makes any sense.
Oh, significant. I mean, this is what you expected when you brought him in, when you paid him. This is the performance that you expected him to have. I quickly we were going back, Connor Handel, one of our videographers and editors, content creators, was showing one of the kicks in particular. I don't know if it was a 56-yarder or not, but credit to Rigo. He had to completely spin the ball around like 180 degrees to get the laces perfectly positioned. Like, we were just we were going deep dive here, guys. But
I love a good kicking operation discussion.
Oh my gosh. I mean, it was beautiful. Go back and have Connor show it to you. But like, that's also too, Rigo and what he was able to do to help and get Matt Gay in the position to do it with just the awareness that he had and the quick reaction of getting the ball placement absolutely perfect. This is one note I didn't get to work it in our radio broadcast, but something I wanted to follow up on. So Rigo and Aaron Rodgers are from the same city in California.
Chico, yeah.
Yes, but they went to rival high schools. Obviously not at the same time, but the high school that Aaron Rodgers attended is actually where Rigo trains when he goes back to California in the offseason. He trains on that high school field. Aaron Rodgers and Rigo both started their college football careers at Butte College.
That's right.
Okay. So in
shout out to Butte College.
Wow,
Butte College. So in 2020, Colts play the Packers, and Aaron Rodgers and Rigo have a moment, and Rigo's like, I don't think he knows who I am, but he goes, hey, BC Pride. And Aaron Rodgers knew Rigo coming from this junior college program, and Rigo said he really wanted to ask Aaron for his jersey at that point, but he said there were like 7 guys who were all, and he was just kind of like, oh, this is my first time meeting him. Like, this is a cool moment, so I'll take it. So we get on the plane to come back, and I was like, you shot your shot, right? Tell me you asked, because he told me he was going to. He was like, yeah, we talked pregame, and he was like, I got the jersey, and I was just so happy.
Good.
Rigo got Aaron Rodgers' jersey.
How about that?
That's awesome.
They both wear number 8.
But like, okay.
How great's that, too?
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
you're absolutely right. Like, how many players on that field are like, this is the last chance you're going to have to go against a future Hall of Famer, potentially, and Aaron Rodgers. And Rigo, that's awesome.
Hey,
that's so cool.
2 of the best in the NFL.
Isn't that great?
Position, so, the greats with the greats.
I mean, but think about like Jalen Jones, the game he had. Like, oh man,
we're getting there. Yeah,
you get that jersey. Like, Kenny Moore II. Like, hey man, respect. All that. Like, Kenny got Tom Brady's jersey after the Bucs game in 2021. But
because they were
Rigo
teammates for a period of time.
They were very short period of time.
Very short period of time.
For Rigo to get that jersey, that's really cool.
You had spoken with Kwity Paye earlier.
I bet Rigo's the only punter in the NFL to get Aaron Rodgers' jersey this season.
That's probably right. You spoke with Kwity Paye earlier. I had a chance to run by him. He had a moment after the game with Aaron Rodgers, and I said to Kwity,
they trained together.
What was that all about?
Trained together in the offseason.
I thought it was a moment, and they didn't know each other. And he goes, yeah, we train together and see each other and stuff like that. So they're friends off the field as well. I don't
know that they're doing a lot of the same training,
right?
But at the same facility.
They both look great. Kwity Paye is just, the last 2 years, what he's done to transform himself coming from Michigan to where he's at now.
Kwity told me, Kenny, I'm going to botch his last name, but the tight end.
Kenny Yeboah, yeah.
Thank you. Apparently they're cousins. So they did a little jersey
cool.
swap on the field.
Nice.
Kwity had like a line of people wanting his jersey. He had all sorts of things happening over there. And then I got in for the Alec Pierce Sauce Gardner jersey swap too, which was a fun moment as well.
A lot of good stuff going on.
Kwity, by the way, like the sack he had to end the game.
Oof, love it.
I asked him about it yesterday in his media availability. He gave this really interesting answer that, this is like very inside football, but I think a lot of times you see where you have a 3-man rush and it's going to be a Hail Mary. Guys are just kind of, you're sort of not really, you're dancing. Yeah. And Kwity just went for it on Morgan Moses, the right tackle, but he had to do it with discipline. Because he knew, and through study all week, he said Matt Raich was really good about this. Kalen Humphreys, the Tony Dungy fellow on the defensive side of the ball, were both really good about, hey, Rodgers wants to escape through the B gap if you get too far upfield. So Kwity kind of long arms Morgan Moses, but then is able, Moses wants to route him upfield. Moses wants to route him upfield so Rodgers can escape through the B gap, and Kwity hits that long arm, but then stays disciplined and kind of rips his way back toward the B gap where Rodgers is going. He comes right to Kwity for a game-ending sack. Like, it looked like one of those plays where you're like, oh, that was a cool play for Kwity, but like, this is like another thing that I always just am like so amazed by is how little I know about the details of a certain play. And that's one where I'm like, okay, that was super interesting. Like Kwity's explanation for it. I think we're doing a director's cut on it too.
Yes, we are.
Larra, so keep an eye. I'm sure he gave really good stuff on that too.
That will be remarkable.
So good.
Hey, I love that we're giving a little love to Kwity Paye and the defense, which we really haven't touched on this podcast as we're winding it up. But guys, overall, when you've got Devontae Adams on one side and Garrett Wilson on the other, and they're collecting footballs in a pitch and catch mode from Aaron Rodgers, and for these guys to finish it the way they did, applause, backslap, let's go, boys. Jalen Jones, Womack, Kenny Moore, here we go.
Sammy Womack. Some big stops.
Let's give that position group and Gus Bradley's boys some love right there, because you put it on paper and we're talking about this matchup 3 months ago. We go, oh my God, we're going to get torched. Jeez, oh Pete. Yep. They showed up. They did what they had to do.
I want to follow up really quickly because you mentioned Sam Womack, and it prompted something that I meant to bring up earlier in this conversation. It was a conversation that you and Matt Taylor had with Samuel Womack at the end of last week. An interesting insight from Sam. He said that Anthony took some time last week to set in the defensive meeting room to get some perspective on them of reading coverages.
They play similar defenses.
Yes. So I thought that was such wonderful insight from Sam Womack, and what a great move. And like, hey, keep that moving forward. There was something to that was clearly like effective, but I thought it was cool for Sam to kind of pull back the curtain a little bit with you guys.
When you're in the locker room, it was kind of it was a thing. Hey, how did this quarterback controversy or this, the roller coaster for the last couple of weeks even affect you as a defensive player? And we threw those questions to him as a defender, and then he opens up the door like that. That wasn't happening 3 weeks ago with Anthony Richardson, but it is now. And
one of the things in talking with a lot of the defensive guys is it feels like that there is, a common thread within which this defense and the physicality with which they play with, they feel like that's mirrored in how Anthony plays. So he almost has even more relatability to some of the defensive guys just because of kind of how you're seeing maybe that a little bit of that like mentality and that relatability in a little bit of it. So I think that was kind of interesting too, just to see the response from a lot of the defense.
I want to shout out Jalen Jones a little more here because I kind of mentioned him.
Please do.
So Garrett Wilson this year is top 5 in the NFL in receptions and yards. When Aaron Rodgers targeted him with Jalen Jones in coverage, Wilson had 2 catches for 7 yards.
Ooh, Jalen.
2 catches for 7 yards. And, I mean, Jalen almost had the pick. He broke up another pass. Jalen Jones, he's just... It's so cool to see him turn it. Because I think last year, you looked at some of his like underlying numbers, like his yards per route run, like his per snap numbers, were like, I might have something here. But I also kind of wondered how much of that was the Colts kind of hiding him with some of their coverage schemes, like guys, a 7th-round rookie. This year, they're not hiding him at all. Jalen Jones is out there, and he is playing awesome football. You don't need to roll stuff toward him to help him out. Like, you can just say, hey, go, you're playing cover 1. Okay, you're going to go take this spot. You're playing man-to-man. Go take this. Like, he's having a really good season. And you're looking at, going forward, finding a good starting cornerback in the 7th round to go forward for the next 2 years.
That's amazing. And
that's really good.
The Josh
that's
Downs
really important.
You talk about you always got to talk to Mo in the locker room. Jalen is one of my like go-to guys in the locker room.
Oh, what he said about what he told you about like it's 5 time was awesome.
Thank you. He said, I asked him just about Anthony's poise on the game-winning drive, and he said that's the definition of poise. When we were on the sideline, I told him it's 5 time. And I love that. Again, guys who came in together, right? Like Jalen Jones has been alongside for this entire journey with Anthony Richardson. So yeah, it's 5 time. Like put that on a t-shirt, right? But Jalen Jones, always good for some singers. He's so much fun to talk to, and could not be more excited for the level that with which he's playing. He gives a lot of the credit for his level of play this season to Kenny Moore and the communication on field with how Kenny is telling him to make certain adjustments and put himself in certain positions.
You can see the respect that he's gained in that locker room too. You both know it. That little corner of the locker room, that defensive backfield that's there, and who holds court and who's the guy. You know, Kenny Moore's area and stuff. But Jalen Jones, you see him back there. Obviously, respect all the way around. So, all right, guys, let's wrap this up, and I want to play a little game here. Okay, you guys don't know about this, but the Colts will beat the Lions if. And you can't say you have more points than the other team.
That's good.
Okay.
Lions,
that's good. All right.
You can go deep into this.
Can I go two? I'm going to go 2 things. And these are not like novel concepts, but control time of possession.
There it is.
1A, 1B, win the takeaway battle.
Takeaway and time of possession. Hey, we want to.
I mean, that's a pretty good science for like winning in most scenarios.
Yeah.
But especially with this Detroit Lions offense, you cannot get dominated by them in terms of allowing that offense to stay on the field. You know, you've got to force them into some 3-and-out situations. You got to do a good job up front of making Goff uncomfortable.
I think it's going to start to me with don't let Sonic and Knuckles get going. David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery.
I was not familiar with this.
That's what they've nicknamed themselves. Sonic and Knuckles.
Sonic and
See, I thought that this was a guy whose name was Sonic and Knuckles. Like I was
no. They've got the best backfield in the NFL.
Sure do.
What they're able to do with that. Here's what I like on first pass. You're going to have to score 30 points. And that is no disrespect to the Colts defense. The Detroit Lions offense this year has been unbelievable. They are tracking to be like one of the best offenses we've maybe ever seen in the NFL. They're going to get theirs, no matter what you do. Like, look at the game, again, the Houston game, where Jared Goff threw, 5 picks, and they still won? Because you get late in the game, he's going to get the ball to Amon-Ra St. Brown. You get late in the game, David Montgomery's going to get his. Jahmyr Gibbs is going to rip on. Jameson Williams is going to get you a 60-yard touchdown. Sam Laporta being a really good like, their offensive line is incredible. Penei Sewell, some of the stuff they're able to get to with him is like football nerd heaven watching his film. The Lions are really good, man. So I think if you can put up 31 points, you're going to have a chance to win. But this is not a game.
Yeah, you can't let it be a shootout.
This is a game where you'd love to draw them into a 24-21 kind of cagey type game, but like over 60 minutes they're going to score their points.
With Jonathan Taylor.
And look, I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm sitting here on this couch next week and we held them to 17 points. But what they've been able to do to anyone they've played this year, anyone,
is
especially as they've got into the second half of the season where like they are just like early in the season they had a couple ups and downs and it was, okay, they scored, I think they lost to Tampa. Let's see here. We got points. All right, 26 against LA, then 16 against Tampa, 20 against the Cardinals. That was the first 3 weeks of the season. Since then, here are the Detroit Lions point totals. 42, 47, 31, 52, 24, 26, 52.
Ben Johnson, what are you doing? What's going on over there? Wow, and that buzzsaw's coming in right now.
Yeah.
Good gosh, you ain't kidding. Hey, say what you will, with Jonathan Taylor and Anthony Richardson in the backfield, you have to run the football. I don't care if they're facing the 85 Bears defense. You think, oh boy, they're going to be able to run the football. Between those two, that goes without saying. I'm going to go on a limb and say this. Richardson has a hell of a day through the air. Against this Lions defense that is susceptible to getting some yards put on them. And I know it's different. And they've scored a lot of points, and then there's some junk yardage you want to talk about. I don't care. One-score game, I think Anthony Richardson, his legs are always important. 28 behind him is. But boy, oh boy, if he can have a great day passing, don't turn the ball over, obviously. Yeah. But if he can get that, I'm at 11 for 15 midway through the game type of a thing, we're cooking.
What's going to help with that passing game, too, the emergence of Adonai Mitchell. He had a really good day versus the Buffalo Bills, a career best day despite the loss. That was huge for him. Caught every pass that was targeted to him against Buffalo. And then, my God, was just so short, right? He tried to reach for the goal line, got taken down right there. Really fun moment. You got to go listen. Reggie Wayne was mic'd up. He had some fun with AD on that play. And AD joked with me. I had him yesterday, and he said, I really just wanted it to be Anthony's touchdown. So I was like, get it as close as I can, and then Anthony can take it from there.
To get to your point, back to your point, Jeffrey, about the Lions defense, though, they've given up at least 380 yards in 5 of their 10 games this year. So you can move the ball to them. Now the last 2 weeks they've given up 248 to the Texans and 170 to the Jaguars. But
it's also
you can move the ball on them. You can get a decent yards per on them, but my gosh, just when they get late in games,
I know it's over. That's a buzzsaw, but they're prime. But
I think that's to Larra's point. That's why you want time of possession in this game.
Yep.
Keep that offense off the field. That is going to be your best chance.
Home field Bills go up there, take care of business against the undefeated Chiefs. Lions not undefeated, but they're coming here. The crowd's going to play a huge part of this thing. And Anthony Richardson, obviously, on the his swing upward like this is going to be a buzzsaw come Sunday.
Oh yeah, I think key for me, get Alec Pierce going early too. That's one of the things I like, that connection.
I like what Alec's been doing on over the middle stuff lately.
Yeah.
Like on some of those like overs that are, you're getting 16, 18, 19 yards. He's been doing a good job using his body to get open on those. I mean, he got Sauce Gardner on one. He got DJ Reed on another.
Like
Anthony also layered those throws in perfectly there. That's another area of Alec Pierce's game where you're seeing some ascension there. It's really good to see.
Shout out to Tyler and Kristen. They were in New York. I was walking toward the tunnel. They are fans who live right here in central Indiana. They made the trip out to New York. They said, I believe that was their 17th different stadium that they have been to. So they make a priority to get to a Colts road game, at least a few of them, and so they're trying to check off all of them. So it was great to see them at the game. Really appreciate them and their loyal listenership, viewership of the podcast.
They sound like they're good luck. Can we get them to Denver?
Yeah, exactly. Hey, what do we got to do?
Make it to Denver, please.
Shoot us a message.
Biggest game of the year on the schedule right there against the Denver Broncos.
Yeah.
Great job today. You muscled through it.
Thank you.
Powered through it. The bad, sad, maybe not bad, sad news is you're going back to New York. So
that's all right.
Are you going to come back that following week and with the lost voice again? Because you guys are doing the same thing in a couple weeks.
No, we're good. We're good. It's kind of going through our office. We've had like a number of people battling through some things. Nah, I'll be good. That's.
I think Marge Schott was mentioned earlier. Former Cincinnati Reds owner Marge Schott was mentioned.
We've reached the Marge Schott portion of the podcast.
That is all right. I'd love to go through the playoff picture, but I'm not doing it. I'm not dragging us.
It's all
will
about
have
Denver.
time.
It's all about
Yeah,
Denver.
it is
It's all about getting the
Denver.
bye
We'll have
week.
time. Texans, I wanted to see him drop one to Dallas last night. Didn't happen.
Yep.
Dallas is Dallas. They're done. Texans win again, but that they had been on a 3-4 streak of losing, so I was hopefully we could catch something there, but we'll keep you updated on it. Colts.com has all your information. These two follow the Colts. Excuse me. I'll try that again. These two follow the Colts closer than anyone. They're in the locker room. They're on the bus. They're on the plane with them. If you want to find out the latest with the Colts, go to Colts.com, or even better, go to @JJ Stankevitz, @Larra Overton on Twitter X. So, guys, no playoff picture talk until next week. It is all about Denver. Final thoughts coming up. All eyes are going to be on this downtown Indianapolis. Why? The hottest team in the NFL is coming into town, and the greatest story going on in the NFL right now is, as we're talking about Anthony Richardson Part 2. So this is going to be a great collide.
We also get to rock the Indiana Knights unis.
Yes, the blacks.
So that's why I had to go with my jacket here.
I love it.
I had to go with the look for that. So that's always a fun little switch up when we do that.
Right. Double J, you're a bad boy Piston fan for a long time. This team
That could not be more inaccurate.
Chicago. Yeah, I had to do that.
Every week. No, I'm a full-fledged Pacers
Pacers
fan
guy now.
Bulls are dead to me.
Really?
Oh yeah, I think we discussed this.
Yeah, it did.
in
But
the
I
spring.
mean,
yeah.
hold on a minute. Bulls are going to be, in 5 years from now, all of a sudden you're going to be that Bulls fan again when they're in the Final Four of the Bulls fans.
The Chicago Bulls.
I'm telling you.
Are you kidding? They're not going anywhere in the next 5 years.
The evolution of it. That evolution. Go Pacers. By the way, I'm glad you
I live
jumped
here.
on board.
I live here.
That is true.
Bulls stink. They don't want to win. Anyways, that's for a different podcast. That's for a Colts on Bulls podcast.
Colts and what?
Colts on Bulls podcast.
Colts on Bulls
Yeah.
podcast. Yeah, good stuff today. Thank you. Guys, it's going to be a fun one, like we said. I appreciate you guys sitting in here right now. Colts.com has all the latest information. Make sure you can find out the latest gear at the Colts Pro Shop as well. Indiana Knights game is coming up, and it's going to be a fun one. Thank you for your time. I know you're doing better with the voice. JJ, anything on the way out?
Go Colts.
There it is right there. Hey, I'm calling it right now. Go ahead and play it over to the blackboard. It doesn't matter to me. Colts shock the NFL world this weekend and come out with the victory, and the march to the playoff continues. I'm not blowing smoke up.
Clip and save.
I'm not clip and save right now. This is happening this weekend. Colts get a huge victory at Lucas Oil Stadium. For Larra and JJ, I'm Jeffrey Gorman. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll talk about it next week.